The colony ship Dawnfire descended upon Arion 7 with a sense of optimism tempered by caution. The barren world held no signs of life, only vast deserts of obsidian sand and jagged mountain ranges that pierced the hazy atmosphere. Humanity had learned to be wary of silence in the cosmos. It often hid secrets better left undisturbed. Yet, the planet's mineral scans promised untapped riches, resources needed to fuel the expansion of the Terran colonies. Days into the settlement process, a mining crew unearthed something extraordinary. Beneath a thick layer of volcanic rock lay a structure of impossible design, a monolith, towering and smooth, with a surface that seemed to drink in the light. Strange carvings adorned its base, symbols that shimmered faintly as if alive. The team's foreman, wary of risking the mission, sent an image of the artifact to the colony leaders, who relayed it back to Earth. But transmissions from the frontier were slow, and the colonists, eager to secure a breakthrough discovery, decided to proceed without waiting for guidance. As night fell, the artifact began to hum, a low vibration that reverberated through the ground. The noise wasn't audible. It was felt deep within the bones, a primal sensation that triggered unease among the crew. The mining equipment surrounding the site flickered, their power cores destabilized by an invisible force. Against protests from the more cautious colonists, the artifact was activated. A single pulse of energy shot skyward, a beam so brilliant it turned night into day for a fleeting moment. The aftermath was immediate and catastrophic. Communication systems across the colony collapsed, leaving them isolated from the outside galaxy. Orbiting satellites began to malfunction, their instruments overwhelmed by strange energy signatures emanating from the planet. Deep within Arion 7's crust, tremors began, mild at first, but growing stronger with each passing hour. Something was stirring beneath the surface. As the colonists scrambled to regain control, Dawnfire's scanners detected an anomaly on the far side of the planet. Massive heat signatures were rising from underground, accompanied by shifts in the planet's magnetic field. The artifact's carvings, once faint, now glowed with blinding intensity, casting eerie shadows across the excavation site. A scientist whispered that the symbols weren't just decoration, they were warnings. The ground cracked open near the monolith, revealing a chasm that stretched impossibly deep. From its depths came a sound no human had ever heard before, a guttural roar that seemed to vibrate across dimensions. A shadow moved within the rift, impossibly large, its form indistinct but unmistakably alive. The colonists froze in terror as an enormous, clawed hand reached out, its size dwarfing the colony's largest structures. The colony's distress signal fired into the void, carrying their panic across the stars, but no one knew if it would arrive in time. Above Arion 7, the shadow of the Titan loomed, its awakening sending ripples across the galaxy. The ancient past had stirred, and humanity stood trembling in its echo. The research vessel Nova Pursuit arrived in orbit around Arion 7 to a scene of desolation. From above, the once thriving colony was reduced to rubble. Fires smoldered across the landscape, their light swallowed by the encroaching darkness of deep space. Scans detected no human life signs, only scattered remnants of machinery and a faint, pulsing energy signature emanating from the planet's surface. Captain Idris Ron stood at the helm, his jaw set as he studied the readings. The distress signal from Dawnfire had been garbled, fragmented into bursts of static and broken words. Yet even those fragments painted a clear picture. Something ancient and enormous had awoken on Arion 7. Descending through the turbulent atmosphere, the Nova Pursuit's landing craft touched down near the artifact site. The once smooth landscape was now marred by massive fissures, as though the planet itself had been wrenched apart. The air shimmered with residual energy, distorting light and sound. The team disembarked cautiously, their environment suits crackling with static as they moved toward the towering monolith. The artifact stood unchanged despite the devastation around it, its surface glowing faintly with symbols that defied interpretation. Closer inspection revealed intricate carvings that resembled constellations, but none matched any known to human astronomers. As the team recorded data, one of the scientists stumbled upon a recording device buried in the rubble. The device contained the last logs of the Dawnfire colony. The recording played in short, fragmented bursts, but the message was clear. The colonists had discovered more monoliths beneath the surface. These were not just relics. They were prisons, designed to contain beings of unimaginable size and power. When the artifact had been activated, it had not only summoned the Titan, but also weakened the bonds holding others in place. The logs hinted at a disturbing realization. The monoliths were not of human origin, but were built by an ancient alien race long extinct. The creators of these structures had once dominated the galaxy, their technology so advanced that it blurred the line between science and magic. Yet, despite their might, they had fallen to the very creatures they sought to imprison. The Titans had turned their creators' own technologies against them, ensuring their own survival even in stasis. As the team processed this revelation, seismic tremors rocked the ground. The fissures widened, and from one emerged a new form, another Titan, smaller than the first but no less menacing. Its body radiated an aura that bent gravity, pulling debris into orbit around its massive form. The Nova Pursuit's scanners detected a distressing trend. These creatures were awakening faster than expected, their energy signatures multiplying across the planet. Worse still, the artifact seemed to be amplifying their power, transmitting signals into deep space. The research team retreated to their craft, the weight of their discovery pressing down on them. They had uncovered echoes of a forgotten empire and glimpsed the return of a force that once reshaped the galaxy. Humanity's place in the cosmos was far more precarious than anyone had imagined. The Terran Corps responded swiftly to the escalating crisis on Arion 7. Humanity's finest warships gathered into an armada led by the flagship Vanguard Prime, a dreadnought outfitted with cutting-edge weaponry and reinforced shielding. Confidence ran high among the fleet's officers. After all, humanity had faced threats before and emerged victorious. This was just another challenge to overcome. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace above Arion 7, its hulls gleaming against the backdrop of the distant sun. As they approached the planet, they encountered a chaotic graveyard of debris, shattered fragments of colony vessels and orbital stations, remnants of a battle they had not seen but could still feel. Sensor sweeps confirmed the worst. The energy signatures on the planet's surface were escalating, and one of the Titans, larger than anything recorded in human history, was rising toward orbit. The first visual of the Titan froze the fleet's crew in awe. It emerged slowly, its form blurring the line between living creature and machine. Jagged crystalline structures jutted from its massive shoulders, pulsing with light that seemed to ripple through space itself. Its eyes glowed like molten stars, scanning the void as though aware of every ship surrounding it. Fleet Command initiated an immediate strike. Plasma cannons fired in synchronized bursts, unleashing destructive energy capable of tearing through asteroid fields. Kinetic railguns hurled projectiles at near-light speeds, each strike landing with precision. For a moment, the fleet's weaponry seemed to succeed. The Titan staggered, its crystalline armor cracking under the assault. The moment of triumph was short-lived. The Titan raised an enormous arm, its movements slow yet deliberate, and unleashed a pulse of energy that rippled through space. Ships within the blast radius lost power instantly, their systems overwhelmed by the sheer force. One by one, cruisers and frigates fell silent, their lights extinguished as they tumbled into the planet's gravity well. The Vanguard Prime activated its experimental null energy shield, absorbing the pulse long enough to counterattack. Its crew launched a barrage of antimatter torpedoes aimed directly at the Titan's core. The resulting explosion illuminated the void, momentarily blinding sensors. When the light faded, the Titan emerged unscathed, its crystalline armor fully regenerated. Panic spread through the fleet as the Titan retaliated. It raised its other arm, this one brimming with swirling gravitational distortions, and hurled shards of its own body toward the ships. Each shard acted as a homing projectile, tearing through hulls with ease. Screams echoed through comm channels as ship after ship was reduced to wreckage. The Vanguard Prime issued a retreat order, but it was too late. The Titan's final attack was an energy surge so powerful it split the planet's upper atmosphere, igniting it in a cascading inferno. The remaining fleet scattered, many ships vanishing into hyperspace with critical damage. The once mighty armada had been decimated, leaving only silence in its wake. As the survivors regrouped far from Arion 7, they understood the grim reality. Humanity had faced powerful foes before, but this was different. This was an enemy that could not be fought with brute force, a foe that turned humanity's might against itself. The fall of the fleet marked the beginning of a war humanity was ill-prepared to fight. The defeat at Arion 7 sent shockwaves across the galaxy. News of the fleet's annihilation spread quickly, sowing fear and uncertainty among humanity's colonies and allies. On Earth, political factions clashed over how to respond. Some advocated retreat, insisting humanity's survival depended on abandoning the outer territories. Others called for retaliation, arguing that the Titans were a threat not just to humanity, but to all intelligent life. Amid this chaos, a cryptic transmission reached Terran Command. It originated from the Javari, an enigmatic alien species that had long avoided contact with humanity. The Javari claimed to possess knowledge about the Titans and their origins. They offered an alliance, but their terms were steep. They demanded unrestricted access to humanity's scientific archives and technological infrastructure. Suspicion ran high. The Javari were known for their secrecy, and many feared their offer was a ploy to exploit humanity's desperation. The Terran government reluctantly agreed to send an envoy to the Javari's homeworld, Azarathis, located deep within the Veil Nebula. The Nova Pursuit was chosen for the mission, its crew still haunted by the horrors they had witnessed on Arion 7. As the ship approached Azarathis, they found themselves entering a region of space unlike any other. The nebula's dense clouds shimmered with strange colors, and energy fields disrupted their sensors, making navigation treacherous. When they arrived, Azarathis revealed itself as a vast artificial structure orbiting a dying star. The planet-sized construct was composed of interconnected spires, each covered in intricate carvings and glowing with energy. The Javari greeted the humans in their usual cryptic manner, their tall, angular forms shrouded in robes that seemed to flow like liquid shadows. They wasted no time, guiding the humans to a chamber deep within the construct. Inside, the Javari unveiled a holographic archive depicting the history of the Titans. Millions of years ago, the galaxy had been dominated by a civilization known as the Celestials. Their mastery over energy and matter allowed them to create living weapons, beings that could reshape worlds and destroy armies. These creations, the Titans, were designed to enforce the Celestials' will. But the Titans rebelled. They consumed their creators, absorbing their knowledge and power. Left unchecked, they ravaged the galaxy, reshaping entire star systems to suit their inscrutable desires. In desperation, an alliance of enslaved species rose against them, sacrificing entire civilizations to imprison the Titans in stasis. The monoliths were designed not just to contain them, but to suppress their vast energy fields, preventing their resurgence. The Javari warned that the Titan's awakening was no accident. Someone or something had manipulated events to ensure their return. The Nova Pursuit's crew began piecing together the fragments of evidence they had gathered. The artifact on Arion 7, the activation sequence, the timing of the fleet's deployment. It all pointed to a hidden hand guiding humanity into unleashing the Titans. As the Javari revealed the existence of a central nexus controlling the Titans, an urgent message arrived. Another colony had fallen, and more Titans were rising. Humanity's time was running out, and the true enemy remained in the shadows, waiting to strike. Desperation often breeds innovation, and humanity's survival instincts burned brighter than ever in the wake of the fleet's destruction. Armed with knowledge from the Javari, Terran scientists worked tirelessly to develop a weapon capable of countering the Titans. The Javari's data suggested that the Titans' energy cores, massive, crystalline structures within their bodies, were both their power source and their vulnerability. A direct destabilization of these cores could destroy the Titans completely. The result of these efforts was the experimental weapon, dubbed the Core Disruptor. It was a risky design, relying on creating a resonance that would overload the Titan's energy matrix. Yet its theoretical potential offered a glimmer of hope. The first test of this weapon would fall to a rogue crew aboard the stealth frigate Iron Hand, a ship retrofitted for speed, precision, and cloaking. Their target was identified, a smaller Titan prowling the ruins of Detima 4, a once thriving industrial colony now reduced to ash. The Titan moved methodically through the wreckage, its massive form shrouded in clouds of swirling debris. Unlike the larger Titans, this one had not yet developed the adaptive shielding that had thwarted humanity's earlier attacks. It made it a prime candidate for the first field test of the Core Disruptor. The Iron Hand descended silently into Detima 4's atmosphere, its cloaking field masking its approach. The crew, a mix of seasoned officers and desperate volunteers, prepared for the mission with grim determination. Every detail had been rehearsed. The disruptor had to be deployed at close range, requiring a dangerous approach through the Titan's gravitational field. As the ship neared its target, the crew could feel the oppressive weight of the Titan's presence. It loomed above them, a jagged colossus of shimmering crystal and alien metal, its movements slow yet deliberate. Scans revealed its energy core pulsing with rhythmic precision, a heartbeat that resonated through the ground. The Iron Hand positioned itself just outside the Titan's detection range. Pilots launched a drone carrying the disruptor, guiding it through the dense clouds of debris toward the Titan's core. The weapon latched onto the target, and the countdown began. The Titan sensed the disruption. It turned its massive head toward the ship, its eyes glowing with a menacing light. The air grew heavy as it prepared to retaliate. Before it could act, the disruptor activated. A blinding pulse of energy erupted from the Titan's core, its body convulsing as the resonance destabilized its structure. The Titan let out a sound that defied comprehension, a deep, guttural wail that shook the planet itself. Its crystalline form shattered, collapsing in on itself as waves of energy rippled outward. The Iron Hand escaped just in time, its crew watching from orbit as the Titan disintegrated into a cloud of glittering dust. The first victory was won, but its cost was immediate. The energy released by the Titan's destruction attracted others. Sensors across the galaxy lit up with new signatures. The Titans were learning, and humanity's next battle would be even harder. Yet, for the first time, hope flickered. The enemy could bleed, and they could fall. The destruction of the Detima 4 Titan sent shockwaves through humanity and its allies. It marked the first tangible proof that the Titans were not invincible. Across the galaxy, people celebrated, clinging to the hope that this victory signaled a turning point. Yet, on the Iron Hand, the mood was somber. The battle had been won, but the war against the Titans was far from over. Worse still, the cost of their newfound weapon weighed heavily on the crew's minds. Back at the Terran Core headquarters, a team of scientists and strategists analyzed the data from the Detima 4 battle. The Core Disruptor's success came with a grim revelation. Each Titan's energy core acted as a transmitter, broadcasting data to others of its kind. When the Detima 4 Titan fell, its destruction had sent a signal, a burst of information that spread across the stars. The Titans were not just awakening, they were coordinating. This discovery sparked heated debate. The Javari had warned humanity about the risks of confronting the Titans head-on, emphasizing that brute force alone could not win the war. Yet they had withheld critical details about the interconnected nature of the Titans. Suspicion deepened. Were the Javari manipulating humanity to serve their own agenda? Or did they fear humanity's resourcefulness as much as they feared the Titans? The Iron Hand was summoned to Azarathis, where the Javari demanded an audience. In their vast, glowing chambers, the enigmatic aliens spoke with a tone that seemed almost urgent, a rarity for their typically detached demeanor. They revealed more of the Titan's origins, hinting at secrets long buried within the Veil Nebula. According to the Javari, the Veil Nebula contained a lost archive of celestial knowledge. This archive, hidden on a dead planet known only as Kaltharis, might hold the key to understanding the Titan's true nature. It was said to house schematics of the monoliths and records of the Celestials' final days. Yet the Javari warned that venturing to Kaltharis would not only risk drawing the Titan's attention, but also awaken ancient defenses left behind by the Celestials themselves. The Terran Corps authorized the mission despite the dangers. The Iron Hand, equipped with upgraded cloaking systems and experimental weaponry, set out for the Veil Nebula once more. As the ship entered the swirling mists of the nebula, its systems flickered, the ambient energy fields interfering with navigation. The crew pressed forward, knowing that turning back was not an option. Upon reaching Kaltharis, the team discovered a world shrouded in perpetual twilight. The surface was littered with ruins, massive structures carved from black stone and etched with glowing symbols. At the planet's core, they found the Archive, a colossal, pyramid-like structure emanating faint pulses of energy. Accessing the Archive triggered a cascade of ancient systems. Holographic projections filled the chamber, showing images of the Celestials' desperate war against the Titans. Yet the Archive also revealed a terrible truth. The monoliths were not just prisons, they were conduits. If humanity's battles against the Titans continued to destabilize the monolith network, the imprisoned Titans could be unleashed all at once. The weight of this revelation crushed any sense of triumph. The very weapon humanity relied on to fight the Titans threatened to trigger the apocalypse. The Iron Hand's crew faced a harrowing decision: continue the fight with the knowledge that every victory came with catastrophic risks, or abandon their resistance and let the Titans dominate unchecked. The price of knowledge was clear. It was a burden humanity might not be able to bear. The Starforge hung in the void like a skeletal monolith, a derelict celestial megastructure orbiting a dying red giant. Spanning hundreds of kilometers, it was a tangled web of spires, rings, and decayed machinery. This ancient facility, long dormant, was the key to humanity's last hope. According to the archive on Kaltharis, the Starforge held the means to sever the Titans' connection to their monoliths, a device called the Celestial Matrix. The Iron Hand arrived to find the Starforge far from abandoned. Titans swarmed the structure, their massive forms entwined with its skeletal framework, as if feeding on its latent energy. Each movement of the Titans sent ripples of gravitational distortion through the area, making approach treacherous. Humanity's fragmented fleet had regrouped for this final gamble, bolstered by salvaged Javari technology and experimental core disruptors. Admiral Idris Ron, now leading the fleet from the rebuilt Vanguard Prime, coordinated the assault. The plan was simple in concept but staggeringly dangerous. While the fleet engaged the Titans in open combat, the Iron Hand would infiltrate the Starforge, locate the Celestial Matrix, and activate it. The Matrix, if it worked, would disrupt the Titans' shared consciousness and weaken their connection to the monolith network. The battle began with a ferocity unmatched in human history. Titans surged toward the fleet, their crystalline forms shimmering with destructive energy. The Vanguard Prime led the charge, its antimatter torpedoes carving paths through the void. Fighters darted between the Titans, deploying disruptor drones in kamikaze strikes. For every victory, the fleet suffered devastating losses, the Titans adapting to each new tactic with terrifying efficiency. Amid the chaos, the Iron Hand slipped past the front lines, its cloaking field straining under the nebula's interference. The frigate weaved through the Starforge's labyrinthine structures, avoiding detection as it neared the core. Inside, the celestial matrix awaited, a massive crystalline sphere suspended in a chamber that pulsed with ancient energy. The team worked quickly, deciphering the matrix activation sequence from fragments of celestial code. As the first energy surge rippled through the Starforge, the Titans reacted. One broke away from the battle above and descended upon the structure, its massive form tearing through the framework with devastating precision. The Iron Hand's cloaking failed, exposing the ship to the Titan's wrath. Defensive turrets activated across the Starforge, remnants of the Celestials' automated systems, their ancient power lashing out at the Titan. The crew of the Iron Hand pressed on, racing against time as the Matrix reached full charge. The Titan tore through the defenses with relentless fury, its crystalline claws slicing through the Starforge's supports. At the last moment, the Matrix activated. A pulse of energy radiated outward, its effects immediate and staggering. The Titans froze, their movements halting as their crystalline forms flickered with disrupted energy. The battlefield above erupted in chaos as the Titans turned erratic, their coordination shattered. The fleet seized the opportunity, launching a relentless counterattack. Plasma cannons and disruptor rounds tore through the Titans, several falling in quick succession. Yet, as the Iron Hand's crew celebrated, they noticed something terrifying. The pulse had destabilized the Starforge itself. The entire structure began to collapse, its ancient systems unable to sustain the energy surge. With no time to spare, the Iron Hand fled the crumbling Starforge, its engines roaring against the pull of the collapsing megastructure. Behind them, the Starforge imploded, its destruction sending shockwaves through the battlefield. The surviving Titans scattered, retreating into the void. The Battle of the Starforge ended in a tenuous victory. Humanity had struck a crippling blow against the Titans, but the cost had been unimaginable. The Matrix had worked, but its effects were temporary, and the war was far from over. The remnants of the Starforge hung in space like a shattered monument to a war that had only just begun. The victory at the Starforge had crippled the Titans, scattering them across the galaxy, but it had not ended the conflict. Humanity had struck a decisive blow, but the cost had been enormous. Many ships had been lost, the Starforge had been destroyed, and the Titans had retreated only to regroup. The battle for the galaxy was far from won, but something had changed. Admiral Idris Ron stood on the command deck of the Vanguard Prime, staring out at the wreckage of the battle. The Titans had learned from their past failures, adapting and evolving with each engagement, but the humans had shown they could adapt just as quickly. The war had shifted from an overwhelming threat to a desperate, yet hopeful, struggle. Humanity was no longer an afterthought in the galaxy. Across the remaining colonies, there was a new sense of resolve. The destruction of the Titans' shared consciousness had brought temporary relief, but humanity knew that victory would require more than just brute force. It would require unity, innovation, and relentless determination. The Javari, though once cryptic and hesitant in their dealings, now offered what knowledge they could, though many still questioned their true intentions. They had helped humanity survive, but could they be trusted? Humanity's resolve was tested time and again. The core disruptors, once a single weapon of hope, were now mass-produced in secret laboratories. A network of resistance cells sprang up across the galaxy, each one working with the remnants of the Terran fleet and any ally willing to stand against the Titans. The war was no longer just a fight for survival. It was a battle for the future, for humanity's place in a galaxy that had long considered them inconsequential. The Titans, it seemed, were not just creatures of destruction. They were a living reminder of the Celestial Empire's hubris, a stark warning of what could happen when power was unchecked. Humanity had faced extinction at their hands, but now, for the first time in centuries, they were fighting back with the knowledge of their enemies. They were no longer scattered colonies struggling for survival. They were a force to be reckoned with. As the last Titan fell in the aftermath of the Starforge battle, the surviving fleets took to the stars, each ship a symbol of defiance. The Titans had been a force unlike anything humanity had ever faced, but they were not invincible. The Titans had awoken, but so had humanity. The ancient creatures had underestimated their adversary, humanity's relentless will to survive and evolve. They had underestimated the fire that burned within every human heart. Admiral Ron issued a final command to his fleet, his voice steady but firm. "We have blood, we have lost, but we are still standing. We are humanity, and we will fight until the stars themselves fall." The war against the Titans had only just begun, but humanity would face it with courage, with defiance, and with the knowledge that they were no longer alone in the fight. The galaxy would not be the same, and humanity would be the force that shaped its future.